My name's Bo, and I'm an addict. Grateful to be clean. Grateful for the opportunity to do this. Um, uh, I don't say I don't say my clean date to impress anybody, but from being an addict like I was, and I couldn't stay clean for a day, it's starting to impress me. Um, I grew up in San Pedro. I did a lot of dirt here until the point where LAPD kind of ran me out of town. Um, I started using young. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and I started out like most kids do, man. Like just hanging out with the little older dudes, started sniffing glue, smoking weed, and drinking. By the time I was 14, I stuck my arm out to get a fix the first time. At that time, I wasn't willing to do what addicts do to support a habit. But by the time I was 18 years old, I was already hooked. Um, and that's where this nasty journey began, about 18 years old. Um, you know, like most of us, once you start doing that, it's about getting busted and the shit that goes along with addiction. By the time I got in the union at 25 years old. I'm going to kind of move ahead a little quicker because the time's limited and there's a lot to it. I got in the union in 1979, man, and July 1st, 1979. July 2nd, 1979, I went to lunch with another homeboy. We fixed. I come back to work. The boss looks at me and fires me. I leave the job and get busted. Um, so I'm fighting. So I can't. And back in those days, you did 90 days for a Mark's beef under the influence. Um, I'm in the union 2 days. I can't very well go get a leave of absence and go do this 90 days. So I start postponing the case. January 1st, go to a New Year's party because I'm hanging out with a lot of fucking knuckleheads. Um, and I got shot 5 times. Um, most people would take shit like that as some kind of little inkling, man, you got a fucking problem. But I definitely wasn't nowhere near done. Um, through the course of my story, you'll hear a little bit about what all it took for me to finally find the rooms, because I never knew there was places like this, man. I'd never heard of it. The only thing I ever heard of a addict ever getting out of addiction, man, either they end up ODing or they end up getting a life sentence. And a lot of my friends, that's what they got before they ever found this. Um, so that was in 1980. In 1983, is the first time I ever heard of anything about a way out for addicts. Um, a friend of mine, Freddie Aquino, someone I used with, I seen him get clean, man. And the way he got clean was mind blowing, man. He's living in the ranch with his dad, who's slinging dope. His ex-wife's living in the apartment across from him with some other dude. And Carl C. and some people are going to pick Freddie up every day and taking him to meetings and bringing him home. Freddie didn't have a car. Um, and that was how Freddie got it, man. He got wind of it somehow and he started going to meetings and that was where he's living and stuff, right? So that was my glimmer of hope because I'd never seen anybody get clean, no addicts. Shortly after that, I seen a dude go into treatment. I thought he got busted, come home all healthy. And I asked him, because I was tired by then, 1983. I'd been hooked for a lot of years. I asked him, well, what do they do with these drug programs? Thank God he told me that what he did. He told me, he goes, and they'd send him up north to Santa Rosa to get clean, where they sent me. They said they give you a lot of fresh air and a shovel. That's all he said, right? And then he walked up to the window and got his job and left. And I'm like scratching my head, like, what the fuck's that mean? And so like when I got busted shortly after that, I was on methadone for a few years, and the judge finally got tired of my shit, and he told me, "You be in the program in 10 years, you're gonna go do this year." So I decided I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna try something different. So I end up going up to Santa Rosa, and I'm gonna tell you a story here that I'm not real proud of, but it's important to me because it totally changed my life. And there might be someone else in this room that suffers from something that I suffered from when I got to the rooms. I was prejudiced when I first came in these rooms, man, and hopefully no one else is suffering from that in here. I didn't like black people, and this is my truth, and I can and so when I get there, I get a black counselor, really cool lady, and there was this dude named Leroy, and he was the coolest motherfucker I ever met, and I didn't understand it, man. Um, and everybody knew where where I was coming from, man. That's the way I was, man. That's the way I ended up. After I'm there about a month, and I'm finally starting to sleep, and I'm almost done kicking this habit, and I start working out, and I'm questioning because I'm starting to get my feelings back, right? It'd been a lot of years since I was able to feel anything, and I'm starting to like this dude Leroy, right? And so one day he pulls up in his car, and Leroy's got these big old, what we used to call Coke bottle glasses, man. They're about this thick. And every corner of his 65 Mustang had dents in it to prove it, right? He's running into shit. And he pulls up with a flat tire. And I have to say it had to be God because I offered to fix his flat and without expecting anything, right? Just man, I didn't want to see this. He was like 50 years old, but he was a real tired looking 50. Grew up in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, and so I fixed his flat, and like I say, I'm all the way up north, and I'm not getting no visits on Sunday. I hated Sundays. Everybody's getting a visit, and I'm there watching everybody get their visit, and I ain't got nothing coming. And so Leroy told me, he goes, and because he knew I was working out trying to get healthy, he goes, uh, next time I get a day off, I'm gonna come pick you up and take you to the gym. We'll go work out, play some handball. And I said, all right. I didn't even know if I believed him at the time, but I just said, all right. So about a week later, something happened in the house, man. They found an outfit. No one's copping to it. You got to imagine this is 1983, and it was programs were like real different, man. It was like attack therapy. Like they do some weird shit. Make you wear signs, shave your mustache, shave your head, fucking yell at you, shit like that, right? But I was willing, man. I was willing to go through all that shit to be clean, man. I'd had a fucked up life and that. So anyhow, they told us everybody go to the meeting room, sit in there and zip it the fuck up. Don't say a word. And Patrick's gonna be in there and make sure. And it's like 100 degrees, and the room was like a fucking oven, right? So we're sitting in there about a half hour, and my head's running, man. I didn't do this. Fuck this place. I'm leaving. Blah blah blah. I'm willing to go do that year. I ain't putting up with this shit. Well, here comes Leroy. I thought he was coming to relieve Patrick, and he points at me, and he goes, And I'm looking around. I'm thinking, I forgot all about what he had said. I'm looking around. I'm thinking he's pointing at someone else. So then I go over to him. Then I'm thinking he thinks I left the outfit, right? I go over to him and Leroy goes, "Go get your gym gear." And I go, "I can't go nowhere. We're locked down." He goes, "Hey, motherfucker, this is Leroy talking. Go get your shit." So I ran up out of that room, right? Uh, he scared the shit out of me driving to the gym, right? I didn't think I was making it home in one piece. So we go work out for like an hour, play handball. The old motherfucker, he whooped my ass 5 games in a row. I have to tell the truth. We sat in the jacuzzi, steam room, and showered. And the whole time, like Leroy's got like 12 years clean at the time. The whole time he's talking to me about recovery and all different stuff about life. Um, then he takes me to lunch. We're gone like 4.5 hours. Well, there was a rule in the house. Whenever you leave the house for any reason, when you get home, you get a half hour to go take a shower and then go do your whatever you got to do. Well, I look over at that meeting room and they're all sitting in there still. 4.5 hours later, I told Leroy, I said, "I'm going to go take my shower." He goes, "You're a dope fiend, man, but go ahead." Right? Because I know what it was about, man. I didn't know what the punishment was about. And a lot of times in treatment, we don't have to know what the fuck it's about. Yeah. But we just need to do it. We don't need to understand it. It was I guess, trying to get someone to crack and say whose outfit it was. We figured we're sitting in that oven, man, sooner or later someone's going to talk. So anyhow, I go back in the room and I swear I'm not in there 10 minutes. And Patrick goes, "This is over." And everybody in there, I'm serious, they're soaking wet with sweat. And they run outside and they're waiting for me. They want to know what I did to get out of that punishment. And so I went out there and I told them, "Look," I said, "I don't even like black people." I says, I says, Leroy pulled up with a flat. I offered to fix it and he told me he's going to take me to the gym. I can't fucking help it. It just happened to be the day of this punishment. I said, "It's the first time I ever did something for somebody without expecting anything in return." And that's what came out of it. I said, "You motherfuckers might want to try that sometime." Right? From that day to this day, I don't look at anybody any differently. That changed my whole life, that incident. I look at everybody the same. I look at how people treat each other instead of colors of skin or colors of eyes or any shit like that. It's not important. It was a big waste of my time. And I just say that story because I doubt I'm the only one that ended up after our addiction, ended up prejudice. And ever since even though I gotta say, I went all through that program and I came home and checked into a halfway house. And 10 days later, I made a choice to use. And it took me 2.5 years to get back up there. And there's sayings around here like, if you decide to use, anybody's on the fence here and maybe think, this ain't for me, or wasn't that bad, or whatever the fucking reason, or a judge is pushing you up in here, your misery will be refunded at the door. Tenfold. I'll tell you tenfold because of what happened to me in that 2.5 years. Through the course of my using and my addiction, fuck, man. Think of all the shit, man. I've had my neck broke. I got my eye put out, shot 5 times, stabbed a few times, overdosed at my job, overdosed a few times, and busted. I don't know what kind of Disneyland type using you had out there, but I know what it's like for me. And it keeps getting worse, man. It's a progressive disease. Um, and it did, in that 2.5 years, it didn't matter how much dope I shot. I couldn't turn his head off, man. You dumb motherfucker. You was clean and you chose to use anyhow. I couldn't turn that off. That's what I listened to 24/7 for that 2.5 years until I finally drug my ass back up there in '86. And guess who I got as a counselor when I got back up there? Janetta, same counselor. Awesome lady. Friend of mine to this day. Um, First thing she said, "You willing to do it our way now?" I told her, I don't care what you say, I'll do anything. And I was willing, man. I Going through treatment was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like I said, I don't know how it's like anymore. I don't ever want to find out what going through treatment is again. Um, but it was the hardest thing, man. They made me do shit that made me so uncomfortable. And yeah, I'd never want to put myself through that. Uh, so anyhow, I totally I went through it. I did everything they asked. Um, I got a temporary sponsor up there. Um, then when I came home is when I checked into Fred Brown's Santa Cruz house. That was the beginning of Fred Brown recovery, and the Santa Cruz house. It was the first house he had. And I was in there with a bunch of really good dudes. Um, I was a longshoreman. I didn't even have a car because my addiction, having a car is a big expense. And I remember the first time I went to treatment, my rent was 180 a month, and every month I didn't have the rent money. You know, when I use, man, everything I can beg, borrow, or steal goes in my arm. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is, man. I was a cattle rustler, stole cigarettes, cartons of cigarettes and booze, and robbed, and all the bullshit. And I borrow from a loan shark every morning. Um, get $100 from him to just go get enough dope to get well and go to work. And then my real job started when I got off work. Like I say, it was no picnic out there for me, man. And trust what I say that this is a progressive disease, man. It just keeps getting worse, worse, worse until its purpose is to make you as miserable as it can and then kill you or have you kill yourself. It ain't gonna be nothing nice, man. Um, when I came home, I did what they said, man. I got me a sponsor. Kevin Fay was my sponsor. Um, I got busy working steps. I got to commit, and we went to meetings every night. And back in those days, we had to go to a different town for a meeting every night. And we'd all, a couple cars, we'd all jump in and go to meetings. Well, meetings are different up north. Like every meeting has a speaker for like 20 minutes and then whatever, sharing and when I came down here, it was mostly participation meetings. I didn't dig it, man. I was like hearing a lot of bullshit, like a lot of sniveling and whining and pissing and moaning, and it wasn't like recovery, what I was hearing up north. And so I went to my sponsor, and he thought I was trying to get out of going to meetings. I know he did. I told him, I don't dig these fucking meetings, right? I go, no, it ain't like that, man. I love going to meetings. I just don't like these meetings. He goes, look, if you don't like the way meetings are, start a meeting. So that's how the meeting at 8th and April got started. As a speaker meeting, and Marie gave me a list of people because I didn't know anybody. of people to come share that had recovery, and it forced me to start going to meetings up in Lincoln Heights and the Valley and all over to meet people to get to come share at that meeting. That's how people like Pepe and Bob Barrett and them came down to San Pedro to share their experience, strength, and hope. It forced me into meeting people because I wasn't good at that. When I got here, man, I didn't trust no one. I looked around the rooms, lame, lop, child molester, this and that, man. I was full of judgment, man. I didn't want to be hugged like this guy, man. I didn't want to be hugged by no guy. Come on, get the fuck out of here. Um, you know what I mean? I wasn't the way it was, man. And so I got into the work, man. What happened, man? And so I started that meeting, got that going, and then and my mom, man, God rest her soul, man. She she was so happy I was clean that she'd make like 5 or 6 dozen homemade cookies, make a cake, bring it to the meeting every week for 4 years. So she was so happy that her son was finally staying clean. She was doing her part, right? Like my parents got their kid back. You know what I mean? Finally seeing him grow up and at 31 years old. Better late than never, right? Um, so I jumped into it, man. I got a H&I panel and Fred Nellis, Juvenile Hall, um, started working the steps with my sponsor, started sponsoring people, started being of service, started reading the literature, doing the meetings, and that's a big part of how we stay clean. Like I said, man, for me to stay clean, so much easier, man. I get up in the morning, man, and I thank God, man, for letting me wake up today. Let me have another opportunity to get this right, man, be a better person I was yesterday. Um, Give me some guidance where I'm needed to help others, man. It don't end in these rooms. Like I got a big heart for people with mental illness. I don't have it, but I have a sister that has it, and I know a lot of people have it. And man, especially when we has people come in these rooms that have it, and I think to myself how hard it is just being an addict to try to stay clean. But then you got some shit going on in your head, all kinds of shit, right? Um, I think I was talking to Roxy about how back in the old days, how it was misinformed, man, because this is a program of total abstinence. And people were getting the wrong message about them taking their medicine, you know, when if they need prescribed medicine, they need it, man. It's not about what we're talking about, total abstinence. Um, I, man, I swear to God, I can't say enough about this program. They talk about a life beyond our wildest dreams. My wildest dreams when I got here was just getting that fucking gorilla off my back. Just let me stay clean, man, and I'll be happy. Just let me stay clean. Get it off my back and take that obsession away. And by the way, that obsession left me. Um, I think I was in treatment about 5 weeks when a homeboy of mine showed up and he pretended like he had some dope, motherfucker. He had put some mud in a piece of tinfoil and he walked up to me and he goes, like this, you got an outfit, homeboy? And then I jumped up and I go, you motherfucker. And then he flicked it, right? And but right then is when I realized, man, I don't want to fix. I don't care if he's got a pound of dope in his pocket. I don't want to use no more. I was done, man. Um, thank you. Um, about I don't know, man. So anyhow, what I try to do is try to practice the stuff that I learned at the beginning. We come around here and we build a foundation on how to stay clean, and we put some tools in our toolbox. Um, get a sponsor. We go to meetings, 90 meetings in 90 days. We get phone numbers, lots of phone numbers, man, because you never can tell when your sponsor ain't going to answer or somebody isn't going to answer. Um, you get a commitment. My first commitment was, I thought it was screwing all the girls that came in the room. I thought that was my first commitment, but really my first commitment, it was different back then, by the way. My first commitment was an ashtray, man. We used to smoke in meetings. If you can believe that. Yeah, I used to pick up the ashtrays and then that secretary, but um and you get a sponsor, man. You got to get a sponsor, man. That's someone that you could really trust and someone that walks the way they talk, man. It's easy for people to get up here and talk a good program or quote that book. But what really matters when they leave the room, how they're acting when they leave the room. And trust me, for the first bunch of years, 5 years, I was no example of what this program is supposed to be like. Um, I made a lot of mistakes, tried not to make the same mistakes. Um, I've been married twice in these rooms and divorced. Um, I've had, I got to, my parents and I got to enjoy each other for 22 years of me being clean before they passed. They passed within 6 months of each other. I took care of both of them, surprised the fuck out of my dad. He thought I'd be there stealing everything because I was a thief. And I got priors, I stole from them. Um, that was one of the big things, man, my big yet. But I don't steal from my family. I thought I was just some hero or something because I didn't steal from my family, but that ended up happening. Um, this disease will make you do everything you swear you'll never do. You know what I mean? God, it's been such a blessing, though, to live the life I have, man. Probably about, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, me and my homeboy Andy, uh, we always dreamed about going to Thailand and going out of the country and shit. Because, man, I didn't leave till the cops ran me out. I didn't leave Pedro, man. I didn't, maybe to Wilmington, to work, shit like that. I didn't go nowhere. So we finally, it was having the first NA convention in Thailand. And it was having this other thing in Nepal. So we decided, you know what, this is our opportunity, man. So we went to the first convention in Thailand, went to the APF in Nepal. We was way up on this mountain. I mean, and I'm dressed like coming from Thailand, all you got is shit like this on and shorts. Next thing I know, I'm like 12,000 feet up where it's fucking colder as shit. This is all I got to wear, right? Almost froze up there. And for anybody who don't know, that's where Mount Everest is. And we're up there like 5 days, and all of a sudden, me and Andy was sharing a room, and we left the curtains open, and all of a sudden, the fog cleared, and there's Mount Everest. I don't know how far away it was, but it was so big, you can't even imagine, right? And it was just staring at us for like a couple hours. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't believe, like, here we are all the way over there on top of this mountain, man, and there's Mount Everest. So that started the journey, my passion of um, going out of the country to different countries, and always when they're having a NA convention. And since then, I've been to every convention in Thailand, 15 of them. I've been to the Philippines, and I don't say this shit to brag, man. I'm saying this to encourage, to for people to think about doing shit outside their neighborhood. Get out and experience things, how other people live, right? How they stay clean. Some people are still without a book in their language, staying clean. Um, I've been to like about 12 countries, including Cuba, a communist country, for an NA convention. Um, Mind blowing, you know, for someone that never left Pedro. You know what I mean? That's beyond my wildest dream, you know. And the best thing about it, man, I meet when I go to some of these conventions, especially Thailand. Like it started at 120 people at the first convention. Now it's 500 from like people from 50 countries. So I'm making friends with all these people from all these different countries. Well, I'm getting ready to retire. I'm getting close. And and they're like people I've known, I've seen for year after year at this convention. They're like all over Europe and stuff. And they're like, come to my country, I'll show you around and shit. I'll take them up on it pretty soon. I'm gonna have a personal tour guide. Um, but it's just um, it's mind blowing, man. You know, like I said, if I've heard of people saying that they someone tells them to write down what you really want out of this, or man, I would have totally sold myself short. I really would have. I never imagined life could be like this for me. You know what I mean? Fuck. Today's one probably the roughest day of the year for me. Um, 22 years ago, my girlfriend overdosed at my job on this day, um, July 11th. Right. Usually, a few weeks before this date, I start getting weird because there's just something about it, man. I feel some guilt, and even though I know I can't um, I can't make no one do anything. All I can do is try to take care of myself. Um, but I still get, I still got some guilt shit going on. You know, um, she came and had lunch with me at work. She was a nurse, and she had hurt her back lifting a patient. And she was new back to the program. She had a breathalyzer in her car she had a drunk driving. And being a nurse, she knows doctors. And that was when Oxycontin first came out. And she had a doctor write her a script for that. And she came and had lunch with me in the where I sit with my bosses having lunch. And she's sitting across from me, and I'm watching her get loaded right in front of me. So I walk her to her car, and I take her keys so she won't drive. And I tell her I'll be done with work in about 2 hours. We'll drive home and come pick your car up the next day. I thought I was doing the right thing. If I would have known, I would have said fuck my job and drove her to the emergency right then. But when I came back from work in 2 hours, she was leaned over. Um, and I carry guilt over that. you know. But like I say, I know there's nothing I didn't know, but it still hurts, man. It just don't go away. Um, I- I'm kind of running out of, I'm kind of starting to draw a blank, but I would like to say this for anybody new. Um, Especially if you're, like I said earlier, man, if you're not sure if this is for you or you've got a court card or um, for whatever reason, man, you're just not feeling it and you're thinking, man, you ain't an addict or whatever the fuck you're thinking, man. Um, there's a reason you ended up in here. And there's a saying, man, that no one ends up here by mistake. So more than likely, I told you the hell I lived through on this earth. Um, More than likely, you guys probably lived through some kind of similar hell to get here. You paid for it, right? I mean, you paid for that seat dearly. Um, Alls I would like to know uh, that give yourself a break, get a little preview of what heaven's going to be like by staying here and staying clean. Thank you.